the new studio. And it's been a long time since I've been live streaming. Wow. I used to do live streams when I was studying for the CKS. I was doing study streams, that kind of thing. But yeah, that is what, 2 years ago, maybe 1 year, 1.5 years. So I'm sort of setting all of this up. The stream is officially scheduled to start at 4. So I'm giving myself some time to get everything sorted before we get started. Let's see. Looks like we're live on YouTube. What happens if I visit the stream myself? Yep. Okay, I see myself. That works. Let's see. Still setting everything up and just taking my time. We're not officially starting until 4. Oh, I got some people in the chat already. Hello, everyone. Welcome. People are already joining. That's nice to see. So please bear with me. I'm just setting things up. It's been a long time since I've been streaming. So I'm just figuring things out. I've forgotten how all of this works. So I just have to... yeah, here we go. Here's my YouTube setup. I want to get a view of all of the chats and everything. Okay. YouTube Steve is all right. Can I get a separate chat? Pop out chat. There we go. That's what I want. Okay, so now I have a YouTube chat. I'm just setting up my screen and everything before we go live properly. Actually, I'm not doxing anything, so I can actually start sharing my screen now. Right. So you should be able to see my screen and my face now. Hope that's working well for everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Can you let me know in the chat if you can hear me and if everything is looking fine on your end? I'm actually live on Twitch as well now. Ah, here's the pop-out chat for Twitch. Okay. Oh, hold on, I'm sharing the wrong screen. go. Yes. Okay. Now you should be seeing my screen properly. Now I have the chat here. You hear me great? Hello from Italy. 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 Wow. Hear you great. It's mirrored. Okay. Can you read the text? You should be able to read the text now, right? It's not mirrored now. So you should be able to see my terminal. Okay. Here's the Twitch dashboard. I don't need to see that actually. Whoa, we got 53 people now? Damn, that's a lot of people. That's cool. 53 on YouTube. Hello, everyone. Let me know where you're coming from. The camera bitrate is horrendous. Oh, damn. Okay. Hold on. Camera bitrate is horrendous. Is the camera still bad? It's screen because that is Rihanna. Is the screen bad? The screen is still not okay. Okay. Oh, that sucks. Why is the camera looking pixelated? It looks really good on my end on the screen itself. So that must be it's either my upload speed. Why could that be? Camera is 240p and lagging. Okay, well, we have to fix this, guys. I'm sorry about this. It's been a while since I've streamed, so. Why is the camera so bad? Because on my screen here itself, I can see it. It's really not lagging at all. So it must be a upload speed thing. Let me see. Still the same. Looks like due to the network. I can see it. It's really not lagging at all. So it must be a upload speed thing. Let me see. Still the same. It looks perfect for you. Hold on. It looks good for you. For a second, it was nice. No, it's not changing the video format. The quality is fixed but sluggish. Okay. Yeah, guys, I'm using a software called Riverside, and it basically takes my webcam and streams it, and it it takes my camera and it. Yeah, my brother is sending me some messages. He's like the camera expert here. We're going to be starting soon, guys. Hold on. My brother is sending me some text messages. Looks fine now. Okay. Are we looking fine now? If I wave, like, is it bad or not? Looks fine now. Okay. Gone again. Yeah. It must be it's probably network maintenance in this building. I'm not at home. I am I am streaming from my studio, my office here. And it's Sunday, and sometimes they're doing some network stuff here. 1 second looks great. Second later is garbage again. Okay. Damn it. How am I going to fix this? Hey Joe. Hello everybody. Do- Yeah, the camera doesn't really look that good, but as long as you can follow along, I suppose it's good enough. I mean, I'm going to be posting a recording of this later too. But how does the camera look when I'm talk? How does the screen share look? Is that actually looking okay? Can I even screen share? Yeah. Okay. Give me a second. The text is clear. Okay. It reads fine. Okay, that's good to hear. Thank you for mentioning that. Screen sharing is fine. Text looks great. Okay. Well, then that's probably it's probably a network issue. Maybe it will get better. Maybe it will get better as I continue streaming. Okay, thanks guys. Thank you for letting me know. Okay. Well, is it yeah, it is actually 4 p.m. right now. Wow, we have 90 viewers from YouTube. Really cool. We according to Riverside, yeah, we got 90 viewers. How are we on X? Is X even live? Let me just check that. I recently got monetized on X. I now have I got 5 million impressions on X. Oh yes, here. We're live on X too. 168. 169 views there already too. Wow, that's cool. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining already today. So let's just kick it off. Let's start. I have a few things that I'm going to be discussing today, but the whole point of this kind of of this live stream is that this is going to be, a bit of back and forth interaction, right? So, those of you who don't know, I have recently started a new community on school called the Free Linux Course, and you can join it by going to school.com/Linux, and that's where we are doing this live teaching. So here we are in this community. I'm building a Linux community from the ground up, and we're already at 1,000 members, as you can see. Let me maybe I should share that actually in the chat here. School.com/Linux. Oh, there's someone on Twitch too. Hello, Boss Orange. Good to see you. So I created I for my DevOps community, I created an 8-hour course on Linux, and I decided to actually give that away for free because people liked it so much, and I'm personally very much invested in teaching as many people as possible Linux because I think the world will be a better place, and that's what we're going to be talking about in a second. But this is the origin of these live streams. So I've created this free 8-hour course on Linux. And the idea is that we are going to be loosely going through this week by week and going more in depth because these videos, I sit down, I create them, and that is just one instance of it. But there's always going to be questions. There's also always going to be things that are not perfect. So the idea is to go through these topics and really take our time and go deeper into them. This is also the idea of this course. That you ask me questions, that we that you ask questions that I can answer. If there's anything that you need help with, you should mention it in the chat. And that is how I can basically improve the course as we go along. So the whole idea here is that this is going to be a collaborative effort together so that we can build the best Linux course on the internet, basically. And we're already doing well. We already have 1,000 people. So this is already going really well. Um, can you please make more free courses on DevOps? No, that is not what this stream is about. This stream is about this stream is going to be fully about Linux, and these course series are going to be on Linux. That because we want to have a very strong focus in this community and also in these streams as well. DevOps is just too broad to do it. And if you do want to know more about my DevOps stuff, then you should go to cubecraft.dev. Just so you know, all of the DevOps stuff happens at cubecraft.dev. That's where I help people land DevOps jobs. It's the #1 DevOps community in the entire world. We are landing jobs there every single week. So that is where the DevOps stuff happens. And this stream is for um, Linux only and teaching beginners teaching the beginners the fundamentals of Linux, why it's important, and how we're going to do this in a very deep way. So please don't ask questions about Kubernetes or home labs and all that kind of thing. That stuff is way too advanced for this stream. That is not the topic for these live series. We're going to be keeping it to Linux. So, guys, how many of you have already joined the Linux course and are doing the course? Let me know in the chat if you're joining from that course and if you have any questions about that. Someone is saying can't access the live Linux teaching. Okay. Let me see. Is that really true? If I go here and I click this link, it most definitely. So let me answer that guy. Right? Andrew is saying enjoying the course. Michael is in the course. Theomet is about to begin the modules. Couple of people joined. All right, cool. Joining from the course. Thanks for letting us know, guys. That's awesome. Live link is fine. Cool. Lots of people from the course. Great. That's cool to see, guys. So let me know in the chat how you like the community so far. And let me also know if there's any topics that you want me to elaborate with before I start with the couple of things that I had in mind. Also, we're going to be working in a probably a 2-hour schedule every Sunday. I should also write that down. Actually, we should. And again, this is not me streaming to you. We're doing this together. I want this to be a community effort. Okay. So I want you guys to provide me feedback as well. Like, how could I help you best during um, these hours? Because let's talk about the schedule for a little bit. The schedule that I have in mind is every Sunday, 4 p.m. CET. So that's the moment right now. That's when we're going to be streaming for 2 hours. Topic Linux for beginners, or Linux fundamentals rather, and with a heavy focus on command line work. Okay, so it's all, as you see, I'm working on the command line. That is where the bread and butter is. Okay. Okay, so no questions from the chat yet. So then I think I'm just gonna go into cancel. Then we can just go into this then. Your soul whispers, this Linux course is second to none, way better than any teacher I've ever had. Your DevOps material is even better. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. That means a lot. There will be recordings for those who missed the streams. Yes, the recordings will be stored in the community. So the thing is, we're going to be building out a whole resource together, right? So I created a new resource here called Linux in Depth. We have to make a picture for it. But the idea here is that we're going to be building this out together. This is where the live recordings are going to be with the notes that we're taking here. And because you guys ask me questions and also direct me in the direction where you want to go, then this is going to be even better than a course that I create just from me, right? So, um, as someone said, is the second to none. Is much better than any teacher I've ever had. Thank you so much for that. So the course is apparently already good, but we're going to make this even better. Okay, let's do a couple of questions before I get into the material. Let me see. What's the most used Linux distro in production environments? Asking because I heard about FreeBSD. Yeah, obviously it depends, but a lot of this is one of the most ones is Ubuntu. Actually, we should actually look that up. Let's uh, note that down as a question. What is the most used Linux distro? We can research this together, and I'll show you how I research this kind of stuff. But the short answer is Ubuntu and Red Hat. At least that's what the last time I looked into that was the answer. You should set the YouTube chat to live chat. Okay. Is that not set Is this not live? Strawberry Kitten, could you please elaborate what you meant with live chat? Learned so much, learned so much in 1 week I've ever learned or studied in my own before now. Hey, that's a real compliment. Thank you. You always explain the command purpose and then brief deeply. Appreciate the teaching. All right, amazing. Thank you. Just use the terminal for small things. The bigger things will come. I strongly disagree with that, but you're going to be seeing the why in this stream. Uh, Linux troubleshooting networking concepts. That's right. We haven't done like very deep networking in the beginner course, so we could get into that too. Um, Top left, live chat. Else some messages are filtered. Top top chat. Ah, okay, cool. Thank you for that tip. I am I'm learning to stream as you go along. As you guys know, I am not a streamer. I am not a uh, I don't have much experience with streaming. I'm very much used to sitting there in my room and recording myself. So please bear with me for that as well. Um, are you familiar with Calico? What is it for? Yeah, so this is what I meant. We're doing Linux here. We're not doing Kubernetes topics. We're not going to be talking about Kubernetes. Calico is a CNI plugin for Kubernetes that provides network policies, and that is way beyond beginners. Which text editor are you using? I'm using NeoVim. Yeah. Okay. So the chat is going. We have 130 people tuned in now. Awesome. And let's again, I'm just going to start by taking a drink and let me pull my thoughts together. So a couple of things that I want to talk about before I go back to the chat again. One of them is that I'm definitely not a live streamer as such. I am very much I'm very introverted and I am more used to making videos. And if you're making videos, you can actually sit there and you can do it again when something goes wrong. So live teaching is something that I haven't done much before, and I'm doing this because I like the challenge, right? Like I've gotten very comfortable with creating videos, and the next step for me as a creator is to actually go and do live streaming. So I want to I want to do more of it, and that's also why I'm committing to a schedule that I've written down here every Sunday 4 p.m. And I'm committing to 8 weeks of this initially, and we'll have to see how this is going to go. If people find it valuable, and how. But I'm committed to doing this for at least 2 months, and go really deep and deeper into the topics that I've done in the Linux course. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I truly fundamentally believe that the world will be a much better place if more people know how to use a computer well. And by that, I mean actually know how to use their computer here from the Netherlands. and I've been in the field for about 5 years now. But I don't have a CS degree. I did not start out as a DevOps engineer, obviously. 7 years ago, I was working as a nurse in the hospital. Okay. So I have a very different background. I do not come from a computer science background, but because I was always interested in computers, and at some point I discovered Linux and I was tinkering with it, and I fell completely in love with working with computers, programming. I've always done it, but I've never really done it. I've never done it professionally up until the point. But at some point, I was so fed up with my job as a nurse in the hospital that I decided, you know what, I'm going to make it my life's mission to land a tech job and work with computers because that is what I wanted to do. I fell completely in love with it, and I I managed to change my career and become a successful DevOps engineer. So it is completely possible to change your life. And this change, this career change, and learning these skills have given me so incredibly much. So be getting into. I 6 figures and I can work with the people I want, where I want, with really cool technology, and I'm learning stuff every single day, and I want as many people as possible to experience this as well. And that is why I'm doing this. Okay? Audio is breaking in and out, lagging. Stream is lagging. Are we lagging again? Is it still lagging? Regularly complete phrase in one word and then 10 seconds. Okay. We have some technical difficulties here. Yeah, this is not good, guys, that I have such a lag. Why is this happening? It's good again. Nothing I can do about it. Yeah, I think there's literally nothing I can do about it. I think it's YouTube. Sorry, guys. Okay. Um, did you did you catch most of that? Why I want This is not a good start of the for of the of the series. Well, I'm gonna keep going. So I'm doing this because it changed my life. I'm making good money. I am I can work remotely where I want with the people I want, and all my dreams have come true. Okay, so that is why I want to help as many people as possible do this. Now, the thing is, it is actually quite difficult to find people who know how to teach Linux in a good way. Okay, there's plenty of free stuff out there, but none of it is. Um, but not everything is what I would say on par. Like none of it, a lot of it is not um, good enough for me. Okay, I've had some really, really good mentors. I was taught by some very competent people in my career, And I was very, very lucky with that. Okay. I was very lucky to have mentors that really took the time to teach me and that formed me. And there even was a mentor. I consider him my mentor. He doesn't know me in the sense, well, we're friends now, but he never like mentored me in person. But his name is Rob Muhlstein, and he used to do live teachings on YouTube like this, and he used to teach, and I learned so much from him. But I actually he doesn't teach anymore, and I kind of want to take over that stick and do something for the world, right? Do some community service, because the second thing is that um, I started teaching DevOps 2 years ago. So the story about that is um, I I changed my career. I started making YouTube videos, and then I people started asking me, "Hey, can't you teach me more about DevOps? And don't you like we love the stuff that you're doing in the terminal? Can't you start teaching about that?" So I just started teaching this. I started creating a few courses, and people came to this to CubeCraft, and they really started encouraging me. So I kind of discovered that I am good at teaching, that I somehow am able to teach. And I'm the last person in the world to expect this. I was so surprised. Like I made these videos and I was very insecure about it. And again, I'm very introverted. So this is not a very natural thing for me to do. But like every day people are telling me that I'm such a good teacher. So that is why I am doing this, because I think it's not very common for people to actually have technical skills and also to be able to teach it in a good way, right? And I'm not sure about my live teaching capabilities. As you know, as I told, I've been talking about creating courses and making videos, and I'm not sure about my live teaching abilities, but that is also what we're going to find out together. And I need your help as well to help me with that, right? I want you to also ask me questions and how I can help you the best way possible, because teaching live like this is different than making a course. You are authentic. We understand difficult and appreciate the effort. Where the video is lagging or not, keep going. Hey, thank you so much. That means a lot. Misha is an exceptional teacher. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That really motivates me to keep going. So those are my foundations for this. On the one hand, I apparently somehow have a bit of a talent for teaching. I'm good at it, and I want to help as many people as possible, and I want to do something good for the world. So that's why I'm doing this and why I'm committing to this. So commitment, at least 8 weeks of teaching. And then we're going to see how this is going to progress into the summer. And we can do a few polls and we can dive into other topics as well. So that is basically the main thing. Now, why should you learn Linux? Okay. I think this is a very important one that I kind of sort of glanced over in the course. But why did I choose a free Linux course and not like a free tech course? Like why Linux in particular, right? Why why of all skills in the world, why did I pick Linux? Because I could have picked Python. I can teach Python. I can teach you how to write Python. I can teach you how to use AI systems well. So why in the world did I choose Linux as the thing? Why am I so obsessed about Linux? And maybe some of you guys know of my teaching. Let me know in the chat. Someone saying because it's everywhere. Yeah, that's a good point. What are some other reasons why you think I choose Linux in particular? Of all these things that I could do, why am I doing Linux? I like that Misha uses dark themes. Not getting blinded is nice. Yeah, very much in into dark themes and dark mode again. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Peter, you got it. Because Linux represents user freedom. You have control over Linux. Linux doesn't hide anything if you look. Autonomy. Yep, you guys have been paying attention. That's good. It's free. It's used in servers. Okay, very good. Microsoft messed up big time. Yeah. Freedom. AI can do Linux. Yep. All right. Some very good points here. Very good points. Okay. Very good. So there are a few topics here that we can explore, and actually, um, let's make this a subheading. Then, why should you learn Linux? So Linux is the gateway to a successful tech career. Okay. So I teach people to land tech jobs for a living. Okay. That is what I do now. That is what I do every day. People come to me because they know my story, they know my teaching capabilities, and they pay me money to be taught how to land a DevOps job. That is my formal job, my formal business now. And um, it works. Like people are landing jobs every single week inside of CubeCraft. Okay, this is what I do, and the method I use for this is very effective. And so I know a thing or two about taking someone, even if no with no tech experience, and making sure that they land a DevOps job or a tech job. And I know that because I did it. Right? I'm not some sort of someone who watches videos and then starts teaching people. I actually did it myself. I went through it myself, and that's how I know how to do it. And from that experience, I know the best way to do it. And also because I was mentored by good people along the way, right? So the first part here is the, being the gateway to a successful tech career, because software engineering, for example, like before COVID, software engineering was the thing in COVID. I saw this tweet. I don't think I can pull it up, but maybe is there a graph software engineering COVID? There is this graph. Is it this? Let me see if I can find it. Wait, software engineering job postings um, graph. It's not the graph that I want to see. And guys, this is a live stream, right? This is going to be messy. I'm going to get into a few rabbit holes here and there. Okay, yeah, here we go. Okay, so I here is this graph. So when COVID hit, software engineering, boom, went all the way up, and then it went down again. And I saw this graph today on X, and I can tell you that this has just been continuing all through 2025. Okay, so this graph has not changed much. And the point I'm trying to make is there was this time when you wanted a tech job, then what you had to do was coding, right? And what you had to do is, um, especially front end development. So earlier paths into the tech industry uh, involved learning to code. Strong emphasis on front end development. So when you used to see like coding like tech boot camps, land a six-figure tech job, that kind of thing, do it in 2 weeks, pay us $15,000 and you'll be landing a tech job in 2 weeks. Those coding boot camps that never worked, those always had front end development as their emphasis. Now that doesn't really work anymore. Okay, especially because because of what is happening with AI. That doesn't work anymore. We're not going to go much deeper into this in this particular stream, but you can check out some videos I've made on my YouTube channel recently about this. But basically, software engineering, like the act of writing code, that does not have a bright future with AI. So that path of just learning Python and hoping for the best, that doesn't work anymore. So Linux is actually a much better way into the tech industry. And why I'm gonna tell you why in a second. But just take a look at the chat. Yeah, actually it's GNU/Linux. You're right. I should actually be saying GNU/Linux or GNU plus Linux. GNU plus Linux. What kind of window manager? This is Sway. This is Sway window manager. Everyone should learn to program. In my opinion, start with assembly and C. Well, I definitely don't. I'm not sure if you're being sarcastic here, Peter, but I wouldn't definitely not. I would definitely not recommending starting with assembly. But it's a good point. Everyone should learn to program. So it doesn't mean like coding is still important, and you should learn it. It's not the right. It's not the straightest path. Okay. So Linux is the gateway to a successful tech career because Linux is everywhere. Successful. Okay. Okay. So then there's tech literacy. And then there's sovereign craftsmen that I want to talk about. So let's make sure that we do that. This one is kind of related to this one. So, okay, so why is Linux a gateway to a successful tech career? Because it is used absolutely everywhere. And one of the ways to find your way into the tech industry is to focus on infrastructure rather than writing code, especially these days with AI coming around the corner. And the reason for that is basically AI is it's booming, okay? AI is growing so freaking fast. Like they're pumping $7 trillion into the AI industry, and there's only into building data centers alone. Okay, $7 trillion worldwide is being spent on, before 2030 into building data centers to host AI alone. Well, guess what? These data centers all contain servers, and all of these servers they need to be managed by someone. They need to be managed by people, and they need to be managed by software. Okay, and people managing that software, and that software obviously is Linux. And for those who don't know, Linux is powering all of the most important computers in the world.com. Let's check out the official Linux website. Okay, just so you know that I'm not pulling this out of my backside or anything. So what is Linux? Okay. From smartphones to cars, supercomputers and home appliances, home desktops and enterprise servers, The Linux operating system is everywhere. And actually, we, like, we're talking about why now, but maybe next week we should go into um, what is Linux next week. What is Linux? What is Linux? What is an operating system? And keep firing those questions in the chat, right? Because that also shows us the direction that we want to go the next weeks. So the Linux operating system is everywhere. It has been around since the mid 1990s and has since reached a user base that spans the globe. It runs most of the internet and the world's top 500 supercomputers and the world's stock exchanges. Okay? The world's top 500 supercomputers and the world's stock exchanges run on Linux. Okay? So most of the world's important systems are running Linux. And just think about that for a second. Like when you go to google.com or when you do any important action on the internet, anything that involves your data or getting data from a company, logging in somewhere, all of that is going to be directly involve Linux. Did I disconnect there for a second? Let's see. Yeah, so the world's stock exchanges are running on Linux. Now, also, if you just look at percentage web servers Linux. Here, Linux web server market share. Okay. Linux controls 60% of all websites with identifiable operating systems as of December 2025. Identifiable, okay? So that is only the servers that let the world know that, hey, I'm running Linux. Many servers, many systems won't even tell you this. So the amount is a lot higher, of course. Linux powers 55% of servers, with adoption rates remaining consistently high across elite digital properties. The Linux operating system market reached 22 billion in 2024 and projects to grow to 48 billion in 2034. That's insane. Like just Linux alone is doing this. And just forget about Kubernetes, etc. Just Linux is a growing market already. Okay. Ubuntu leads Linux distribution with 13.7% market share among Linux powered websites. That's an interesting statistic. Actually, we should add that to this one. What is the most used Linux distro? Let's put that in. I know that is true, but I'm gonna put it here. Linux runs 92% of virtual machines across AWS, Google Cloud, and Microsoft Azure platforms. 92%. So, you know, if you know what AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure is, it's basically runs on Linux. Like Azure is Linux, and even stronger, Azure is increasingly becoming Kubernetes now. This is actually very good stats to add here. So let's just add this one here. And again, all of these notes and the live stream, I'm going to be adding into the Linux course, right? So I'm building this out as we go along. Okay. So let's see. Most of the important computers in the world are using Linux. And these are only the advertised ones, okay? So I've read statistics that like even 95% of the world's web servers are running Linux. And the world basically is the internet now these days, right? Like almost everything you do in life, it involves Linux in some shape or form. It involves the internet in some shape or form. Well, if 60% of the internet's web servers are powered by Linux, and it's probably more than that. It's probably 80%, because what are the alternatives? It's only like Windows Server, right? And maybe BSD, but otherwise, it's there are not many alternatives. Actually, here's some more about enterprise Linux, which distros they're using. That's an interesting statistic too. So this is a really good website for checking this out. But to keep to just to conclude, like any action you do on the internet, which is basically any action you do in life in modern Western society, is going to involve Linux in some shape or form. So, despite the career benefits, because obviously, if something is used everywhere, there's going to be a lot of jobs in it. But because it's everywhere, there's also entire disciplines built on it, right? So, the reason why I started with talking about software engineering and learning to code is even when you are a software engineer, you're going to benefit so much from learning Linux because the software that you're writing and creating is very likely to be running on Linux. Okay. So almost all software that is being created that is going to be running on serious systems is written for Linux. So even if you are a front end web designer worried about AI, you can practically save your career by just learning Linux skills and getting more skills in infrastructure and applying that, and then increasing your coding capabilities after that. Okay. So, because AI is now um, increasingly replacing coding basically, then Linux is the safest way to do it because, frankly, it's very hard to automate Linux with AI. Okay, so before we move on to the next point, let's check out the um, here. Let's see. The interesting question is, of course, why so many people prefer Linux for these purposes. Yes, that's a good point. So we have established that there is a lot of it is being used. Um, I've tried NixOS. No, don't use NixOS. Some of the things that humans find hard is incredibly easy for AIs, vice versa. Yeah, that's right. Will you share any of your notes from this live session for free? Yes, all of this is going to be shared here in the free Linux course, com/Linux. I'll just show here. Recording and these notes are going to be shared there. Okay. So why is it that so many companies and all of these servers are being powered by Linux? Why is that? Well, the main reason is because it's free. Okay. Linux is completely free. Linux was created by a man called Linus Torvalds in the 1990s. He was a computer science student, and he was interested in writing an operating system for himself. Okay, we're going to be getting into what an operating system is, etc. This is Linus Torvalds. He is a Finnish man. Actually, language. Yeah, well, he was both. If he's, I know he speaks. I think he's from both. And in Sweden, was created by Bell Labs, if I'm not mistaken, by AT&T. Yeah, Bell Labs Research Center. This was basically one of the first mainstream operating systems for computers for corporate use. Okay, this was not something that you would necessarily have at home. This was also very expensive, and yeah, the short version of it, it's not entirely accurate. It's not entirely correct to say this, but he basically wanted to reverse engineer Unix into a free system. Okay, so he built the Unix operating system, and then Richard Stallman and the gang. Richard Stallman, he's another important. We're going to get into this in further live streams. But Richard Stallman then started the GNU project and then started reverse engineering all of these free tools that were being written for Unix. And that is basically how Linux came to be. Okay. Linus Torvalds, he basically reverse engineered Unix, and he posted it on news groups. He's saying, "Yeah, I'm having this this hobby project of mine. It's not really going anywhere, but I managed to write some drivers and it's working." And it took off. People started contributing and collaborating, and they built their own operating system. Because why this is important is because Linux then is free. Okay, so why is Linux used so much? Unix and, or for example, Microsoft's Windows Server cost money to use. And Linus Torvalds reverse engineered Unix. This is not this is not completely correct. It's like, don't quote me on this, but just to summarize it very quickly, this is basically what happened. Reverse engineered Unix because he couldn't afford it and wanted something for free. Free as in free, as in money. And then because that was his intention, he decided to make it open source. So Linux is free. Linux is free and open source. So let's talk about what open source means, okay? So Linux, you can literally go and go to kernel.org. This is the Linux kernel archives. This is the website of the Linux kernel. And you can literally go here and check out the we're going to get into what a kernel is and what that means, etc. These are all the Git repositories of the kernel. And for example, the man pages, or yeah, there's so much here. But kernel, let's take the USB section of the kernel, and we can check out the master branch. And can we actually see it here? I'm not sure if this actually has a web interface. Commit. These are just commits. Actually, you can GitHub. You can actually watch it on GitHub as well. There's the Linux source code here. You can actually go in here and just actually look at the actual Linux source code and how it is written. Okay, BEFS. Like the Linux kernel is written in the C programming language, and I can literally go and read how the operating system that you're watching this from. So I'm running Linux here. This is on Linux, and I'm streaming this on Linux, and I can literally go in and read how my system was built. Okay, I can literally understand. Like, I don't know C. I'm not a software engineer, so it's not that I actually can do it, but all of the code that runs this particular machine is open source. So I can actually go in and verify and see, is this software spying on me, for example? because Windows is not open source. You cannot look at how Windows is made because it's what is called proprietary. Windows, for example, is proprietary. It's not open source. You cannot just go in and look at that source code. Linux is free and open source, so you can download and run it completely for free. You don't have to pay any money for this. And you can actually verify and see what you're running. You can see how it's made. You can get insight into how the actual project is created. And Linus created it, but over the years, like hundreds, thousands of people have come together and they collaborate on it. And I mean, look, like every day, people are making contributions to this. See, every day, things is this is just all of the work that is being done per day on the Linux kernel. So it's a very much alive operating system. It's not just one company creating it, it's the whole world coming together and creating this operating system. Okay. So Linux is free and open source. And that is why so many companies will use it, because if you run a Windows server, like what is the price? What is the price of a Windows Server Enterprise license? Let's check that out. Windows Server prices, pricing and licensing. I don't think you can. Yeah, here you go. Look, the standard edition is $1,200. And what is that per month or per year? I mean, pricing is shown in USD. I'm not actually sure if this is per year. But if you're if like the data center edition here, as you see, data center edition is almost $7,000. So if you buy a server and you want to run Windows Server on there, it's likely that you're going to have to pay $7,000 just for the software. So a company can save a lot of money if you have 100 servers running. I mean, that's almost $1 million, right? By just running Linux. And that is why the companies are very often choosing for Linux. Now, I should add here that this does not mean that all Linux is completely for free. So there, as we saw in this article, um, where is it? Here. Here's enterprise Linux distribution statistics. On the top here, you see that there's Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And Red Hat is a company that then takes Linux and creates something that's called a distribution. And we should talk about what a distribution is here. Um, what is a distribution? Uh, but Red Hat takes the Linux kernel, packages it, and sells that to companies with service. Okay, so if you have a problem with your Linux deployment or anything like that, then you can get support from Red Hat. And Red Hat also makes sure that your stuff is secure, etc. So it's not that all Linux is completely free. There's still business offerings. That is very often how open source software works. But that is why Linux powers most of the important computers in the world, because it is free and open source. You know exactly what's going on. And we're going to get into why that is important in a second. Let me just take a look at the chat. I made the same oopsie as I do mixing Linux and Linus. I did? Okay. That's funny. I said Linux Torvalds. Okay. Okay. Linux is Freaks. Yeah, it was almost called Freaks. That's right. Um, many household appliances use something like FreeBSD. Okay. Yep. Hi, Skywater. Good to see you. Don't get a heart attack from looking at the price of Windows Server. Yeah, there you go. Linux is free, the service isn't. Yep, that's right. I have no idea why anyone would pay that for Windows Server. Even for games, it doesn't make sense if they program it sensibly. Yeah, I mean, it's it has to do with, when you have a company. This is why Azure is so popular as well, right? Like when you have a company, it's very likely that you're going to be using Microsoft Office, right? And then Microsoft is going to come to you and they're going to offer you a deal. Hey, if you buy this, then you're going to get that. So if you also buy into our companies get locked in. And yeah, I'm not saying if that is right or wrong. It's a business model, and they make decent products. For enterprise, they make good products. For consumers, I have a lot to say about that. But yeah, okay. So let's go. Uh, so what is a distribution then? A distribution is basically taking the Linux kernel. So the stuff that you see here, this is just the Linux kernel, and we're going to get into what a kernel is next week and what a CLI is and command line, etc. But you take the Linux kernel and you package that into something that can actually be used. Okay, like you cannot really download this and start running it. You need to have drivers. You need to have software that supports everything. You basically package that and then you share that and you distribute that. And that is what's called a distribution. That is a distribution. So taking the Linux kernel and something that you can actually run by adding the required supporting software, drivers, etc. What is the most used Linux distro? So we already looked at that. So it was, we saw that Red Hat was on top of that list here. Red Hat Enterprise Linux, 43%. That is in enterprise. So we should add here in enterprise because we're talking about career here, right? It's very different from when you are talking about home users. So in enterprise, it's Red Hat, but the next one is Ubuntu. And I know that I know this statistic, Google Ubuntu server. This is also why I learned Ubuntu server. Um, what is it? Does Google use Ubuntu server? Let's see. Oh, they changed it. No more Ubuntu. Debian is the new choice for Google's in-house Linux distribution. For years, Google used Kubuntu, an in-house Ubuntu-based operating system. Yeah, so this is why I chose to specialize in Ubuntu back in the day, because I saw that Google was using Ubuntu, and that is why I chose Ubuntu, and I still recommend you use Ubuntu. And now they are um, apparently using Debian, G-Linux based on Debian Buster. Okay. Now, Ubuntu, again, is based on Debian. So in that sense, it makes sense. But apparently, Google uses Debian now. Let me see. Are there any more? Or G-Linux? G-Linux is a Debian testing-based Linux distribution used at Google as a workstation operating system. That's interesting. Yeah. So Google is using Debian. So that's basically all you need to know. Enterprise and Ubuntu. There are more distros. Hold on. Where is the article? Did I lose the article? Here we go. That's why I always copy my links and take notes. Um, for web hosting, it's actually 13%. Just knock this one out the park. Yeah, enterprise statistics, and you should always look at enterprise. That is the most, like, when thinking about career, you should always look at what the enterprises are using, right? So it's Red Hat, Ubuntu. Next is SUSE. SUSE is a German company. This is SUSE. You'll see quite a lot in Europe, and these are not even. Why is this here? This is just market share. Okay, this should not be here. Like this is not Docker and Kubernetes are not Linux distributions. They should not have this here. But here you see the their the main ones to learn are Red Hat or Ubuntu. And Red Hat you can't just download and use for free because we already saw you have to pay for that, right? So the one that you use and the one that we're using in the Linux course is Ubuntu, and that is the reason why we use Ubuntu. So we're I hope you are starting to realize that I don't make these teachings lightly and that I I research the stuff that I teach. And there's a reason why I recommend Ubuntu, for example, and in this case, this is why. Okay. Next point is tech literacy, but let me check out the chat first. Uh, Mac OS or Linux, and why use Linux? That's what this whole stream is about. Um, what is Debian versus Ubuntu? I think we talked about that. Okay, so Ubuntu is based on Debian. Debian is a bit bare. It's more bare bones. Uh, Ubuntu comes with a desktop environment. If you download Ubuntu desktop, and Ubuntu takes Debian and basically makes it very user friendly. Debian is also a lot slower in the sense that packages are heavily vetted and it takes a long time for new software to be released into Debian. So it's very stable, but it is it like if you want to use the latest and flashiest software all the time, then Debian is not really the right choice. Okay. Every distro has its use case. Yeah, there are thousands of distros out there. It's a real rabbit hole, and distro hopping is a phenomenon. I'm surprised you haven't switched to Arch, by the way. I ran Arch for many years. I only recently switched to Fedora because I wanted something new. I wanted to use a immutable OS. So that's what I'm running at this particular moment. But Arch is the best, especially for learning. What is even Debian? What does Debian have compared to just GNU/Linux? I'm confused what the whole picture looks like here. Well, yeah, it's a good question. And like what? So I've shown you that the Linux kernel, GitHub Linux. It's actually a good question. Like I don't have an answer for that ready. So we have to figure this one out. So the Linux kernel is something you download. It's the core of the operating system, okay? But the kernel is not everything. You cannot just download this to your computer and run it and hope for the best. So Debian like the Linux kernel is not an operating system, okay? It's a component of an operating system. Debian is a complete operating system. So the Linux kernel does not have everything it needs to run a computer, okay? But if you take Debian, Debian takes the kernel and a couple of other elements and creates a distribution out of it, something that you can actually install on a computer. And when you turn on your computer, it will run. And you cannot do that with a kernel alone. You need to have a bootloader, you need to have an init system, etc. So all of that is handled by the distribution. So this is actually a Dutch version, which I'm surprised about. Why is it showing like English? Okay. So why Debian? Why does it make it special? Reasons to use Debian. So it's free, stable. So Debian is definitely one of the most stable ones. They take a long time for vetting their packages. So the short answer is that Debian takes the kernel, packages it with few other things, and then that becomes a distribution that actually runs on a computer. I hope that helps a little bit. What are all the parts of a distribution that Debian adds on top of the kernel? Yeah, well, we'll get into that into next week when we start talking about what a kernel is, what a CLI is, etc. But that's a good question, and I'm going to note that we're going to get deeper into that next week. But now I want to start finishing up on the second parts that I want to address here, which are tech literacy and the suffering craftsman. Okay, so we've talked a lot about career and how Linux can help you land a career. And to summarize that, it's because everything you touch on the internet is likely to be having some sort of Linux component. Therefore, there are a lot of jobs in it. And also, if you are, for example, a software engineer writing code or doing anything in the tech industry, it's so likely that whatever you do is going to be running on a server, that having the skill of actually knowing how that works, being fix it when it breaks, you're going to be useful in almost any situation. So, like, think about this. Like, because you are watching this stream, it's likely that you are already the computer guy in your family, or maybe not. Like, just let me know in the chat if you are. Um, do you consider yourself the family or your friends? If you're watching this, I want to see if there are people here who say no to that. Connection is lagging again. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we got many computer guys. Okay. Right? And but if you're not the computer guy, then I think the place where you should start is to learn Linux, because Linux to me is how the experience of working on the computer actually works. So, like, this is what I'm doing now is I'm working on the command line. Okay, I can go to my system and I can see exactly what is running on the system. I can check out the processes and I can interact with my system exactly the way I want. So I can go into the proc file system and I can actually see everything that's going on my Linux system. I can go into one of these directories, and all of these directories are representing a process that's actually running on my system, and I can check out I can check out all sorts of information that the Linux kernel is storing about this process, the syscalls that it's doing. Oh, that was not permission denied, but this shows, like, it shows me exactly what's going on my system, and I'm directly, like, if I do PS3, I can see exactly what's going on, and I know exactly what everything here is doing. Okay, and yes, you can do this with Windows as well, of course, but if you've ever tried to, like, mess around with the Windows registry, you probably know that you don't have the actual control over your system. Like sometimes you want to try and change something in the Windows registry and it will simply won't let you do it. Okay. Now with Linux, you have the complete control over that system. First of all, you know exactly what's running because you can see it. You can see all of the processes. You can inspect them. And if you do an Arch Linux build, then the way I teach it, like when you do Arch Linux, you're going to be um, you're going to be um, building something up where if you run PS3, there's only going to be like 5 processes there. Like there's almost nothing installed. And you build it up, build it up, build it up, and then it becomes this whole system. Okay. So you can build it up from almost just a blinking cursor and just put all of the pieces in there and know exactly what's running and why it's running there. Okay. So you have complete control over your system if you learn how to use it properly. And I believe that this is the best way to actually become good at using a computer. Okay. So the command line interface, what I'm doing here, this is the most efficient way of interacting with a computer. It's the fastest, especially if you get good at switching around without using a mouse like this. I can go and check my chat. I can go and type in the chat. I can go back, give us some BTOP, okay, toolbox and their tools. BTOP, I have to show BTOP, of course. These are all of the processes that are running on my system, all of the disk usage, the CPU usage, everything. This is BTOP. This is a snazzy program that you can use on Linux. Um, but I personally think in 2026, every grown man should learn how to use his computer properly. Okay. And with that, I mean, stop using Windows and actually take a USB stick and install something on your computer and having full control over that. Because everything you do online these days, like most of us are spending 10, 12 hours a day on the computer. Like, why? Like, have you ever considered why people don't consider, even if they're working for 12 hours a day on something, why wouldn't someone consider actually getting better at using that tool, right? Like if you are a carpenter and if you are using let's like let's say you're a woodcutter, right? In the old days, your job is to chop trees, okay? You use an axe all day long. It's an axe. Well, a lot of these loggers, they spend a lot of time filing their axe and making it as sharp as possible. Okay, they had a file and then they had a stone that they used to rub the axe to make it as sharp as possible. In other words, they learned how to use their tool very efficiently and how how to take care of it. Now, why are people in the modern age? Why are people not doing this? Like, I'm dumbstruck with this. I don't know. I'm not some sort of genius or anything, but I when I started using a computer mostly for my work, I realized that I want to know how this works. I want to know what's going on here. I want to have more control over this. And maybe I'm just weird for thinking this, but you you have to um, understand the tools that you're using every single day, even if you're not in the tech industry. But can Misha explain why people don't want to learn how to use computers? No, in that sense, I don't know why. I don't know the reason other than just laziness and because people don't know. And that is basically my whole point here. Like if you have tech literacy and if you are the computer guy, the question I was asking, you have power, you know? Tech tech skills equal power. Knowing computers well gives you power. Like most people in the world, if you are working in a company and most people, they will only use a web browser and Microsoft Word and Excel, and they don't have any computer skills beyond that. Okay. So if you are able to actually install a server in your office or whatever and maintain that, people are they think you are some sort of tech god or something, you know? And you don't need many skills to get that. And all you need to do is to learn the fundamentals of Linux to do that. So but it's not about what people think of you, but it gives you power over your own life, okay? It gives you power over your own life. And this was where we're going to get into self-hosting. So self-hosting, hosting, managing your own software. Because guys, if you use a Windows machine, and many of you have seen this video I've created, but if you use a Windows machine, if you don't change your settings, all of the stuff that you're typing on your computer can be sent to Microsoft for analysis. It will record your screen. It will record what you say into the microphone. It's not going to send everything, but it's going to send parts of that to Microsoft for analysis, okay? And many people don't even know this. They don't even consider this. And we're going to talk about why this is a problem, and people will say I have nothing to hide, etc. But if you don't even know that, then you're not in control over your own life. And this is where sovereignty comes in, okay? Like my main principle of of my life that I one of the main principles that I use for my life is sovereignty. And that is sovereign can't type. Sovereignty. The state of being self-governing. Okay? I want to have the control over my system and to know what is running on there and why it's running on there. Okay? That is the reason why I strongly wish that more people in the world know how to run Linux. Because most people, they'll download Windows, they'll just run it and think everything is okay, and they will not even question why they do it and how they do it. They're not sharpening their axe. They're not even they're not even considering to think about it. They will take, so, yeah, they will take your data and they will sell it. Like same thing with Google. Like up until recently, Google used to scan all of your emails and use that for creating data. If you use WhatsApp, then Meta is reading all of your stuff and then suggesting, like if you use WhatsApp and Instagram, like I recently started using Instagram, right? And I use WhatsApp. It's a thing here in the Netherlands. Everyone uses WhatsApp. Like, we've been doing it for 10 years. And I literally created a new account and I saw advertisements of stuff that I thought there's no way that they could know that I like this. Well, I found out like Meta literally reads your WhatsApp messages. And when you then use Facebook or Instagram, it uses that data to suggest ads and content to you. That's why these algorithms are so good. And I mean, I'm not saying that there's necessarily something wrong with that because they do provide free value to people. Like, I'm not here to judge, but you should know that this is going on. Okay. And if you don't even know it, then you're asleep at the wheel. And it's a state of being self-governing, being self-governing, and knowledge is power. Okay. Knowledge is power, and if you don't even have the knowledge, then you're already behind. Okay, if you don't even know that this is going on. So going back on how can you take more and more control over your life? Like I'm not about de-googling. Like I use Google services. They provide insane value for our business. It's like $15 a month, and you get so much like free Office suite storage, blah blah blah. So I use Gmail. Like I'm not de-googling. I'm not saying that I am a perfect example of this. But what I do have, for example, is audio bookshelf. So this is my private audiobook library that I am hosting on a server at home. Okay, and to be clear, I paid for all of these books. These are I have an Audible subscription, and I when I download an ebook, I will pay for it on Audible, and then I download a copy for myself, so that I will always have a copy of that audiobook on my own infrastructure. Okay, and I pay for that. I pay for my authors, but I support authors. If we don't support authors, we're not going to have books in 20 years. So you should always do that. But I want to have audiobooks on my own server, because when Amazon somehow decides, yeah, you're not allowed to read that book anymore, well, no, you don't decide that. I decide that. And that is why I, for example, self host Audible. Another thing that I do is Miniflux. So this is a. Am I logged in? Yes, I'm logged in. This is my private can go in here and yeah, without any spam or advertisements, and I have control over this. Okay, I can read without any ads or anything like that. What is another thing that I'm self-hosting? Bag. No, I'm not logged in there, unfortunately. I'm not going to do that on the stream. Another one is for Geo. Not logged in there either. I don't want to do that because I have to search up my things. I'm using like Git repos. I'm self-hosting paperless. So this is a document server. So I'm gathering all of my documents. I'm using VR to scan so I can search any so that you server and I'm using and the best resource for this is the Futo self-managed guide, a 13-hour like this is completely insane. I'm going to be adding this to the notes, but this is a completely own system, full guide on like building your own system and self-hosting your calendar. You can self-host your email. So there's so much that you can do, and this is a bit extreme, but I'm going to be including this in the notes because this will also show you what's possible, right? Another one is I highly recommend that you check this out if you want to get deeper into this rabbit hole. But it is possible to live completely without Google and Apple and everything, and just host everything on your own infrastructure. I am not there, but it's definitely a goal of mine to get there. Another website is Awesome Self Hosted. So this has all sorts of what do you call it? Alternatives for all sorts of things. So name it: file transfer, e-commerce, document management, communication, email, video conferencing, media streaming, maps, money, budgeting, password managers. I mean, there's so much stuff that you can um, that you can self-host. So I'm also including that just to let you know that there is an entire world out there of software that you can host on your own infrastructure and that you can use you can save a ton of money on subscriptions and all sorts of things that you normally have to pay for, that normal people have to pay for. You can run that yourself. You need to fix the lag issues. Yeah, there's an issue in my there's an issue with my internet in this building. Unfortunately, I will have to look into that. There's nothing I can do about that right now. I'm sorry. Um, it feels like it needs a lot of maintenance. It's actually not that bad. It's when you get into this and when you use the right programs, it is not that bad. It is actually very doable. So we've been going for 1.5 hours already, and this has been just a very deep dive on why you should even learn Linux. And I hope this is already helping you. Like, I hope I'm opening your mind a little bit more. Like, this is not just to land. It's actually going to improve your to because is because we are living in an increasingly digital world. And there's so much to say for like touching grass and getting outside more. And um, I strongly advocate that. But there's no denying that the world is becoming more and more digital. And if you then have literacy, tech literacy, and if you know how to work with these tools, with computers, with the software that's running on these computers, but by definition, I think that you are going to have more power and more self-governancy, more sovereignty over yourself. You'll be able to govern yourself more or autonomy. You tools how you to work with them. Okay, so you were a pioneer in the you would be able to know all of these tools. Well, the equivalent of that, in my opinion, is to be a sort of digital pioneer. Actually, that's an interesting idea. A digital pioneer. So these people, they were self-sufficient, right? These people, they knew how to survive. They knew how to build their own cabins, how to grow food, how to um, how to yeah, raise children, how to, I don't know, like raise livestock. They knew how to do all this. Well, I don't know how to do that, but we also live in a world where those skills are less relevant, especially in the West. So I think the equivalent of knowing how to build a log cabin, you should learn Linux. Okay. So let me know in the chat. Am I opening your mind a little bit? Is this actually opening some thoughts in your mind? Let me know what you think about this. You're running immutable thanks to me. Yeah, good. Thanks, man. That's good to hear. Yeah, I really like it too. I want to start van life, build your own cabin, self-sufficiency is the future. Yeah. I mean, self-sufficiency, if you know Alone in the Wilderness and Dick Proenneke, like I love that kind of stuff. Into the Wild, I'm very much into that. But I'm not I like you can't be completely self-sufficient. I believe you always need community and society. But I think digital self-sufficiency is definitely something you can aspire to. And again, you're also building on the community. You're leaning on Linux and you're using software that's built by the community. But still, if you know how to code and how to run these systems, you'll be able to run these systems yourself. And yeah, starting van life. Yeah, it's getting starting to get spring in a couple of months here, and then I'm gonna get out in my van, and I'm also gonna be streaming more from the van. That's gonna be really cool. You haven't answered the one question: why can't AI also do Linux? Yes, that's a good question. Uh, so the short answer here is um, to like AI can do small tasks on Linux. That's not it. But if you're actually working with Linux, it's rare that you are doing one thing on one machine that only has to do with one machine. In order to work with Linux, you are generally working with larger distributed systems, large systems. So um, the AI agents, they don't have enough context, so their brain is not big enough to keep the entire system in their mind. Okay, they are not able to actually have all of that knowledge in their mind at the same time. So it's very difficult for an AI to actually navigate these systems and to know what to do. So it always needs a person with that knowledge to actually guide it in the right direction. And I've observed this so many times in my own experiments that you'll give it an instruction and you say, don't you whatever you do, you're not allowed to do this. And then halfway through, it runs into a problem, it can't fix it, and then it starts ignoring those instructions. And that's why it's not far from ready to be used on any production system ever. So the short system is that AI is not able to hold enough context yet, and it's not able to do these operations okay. Explain learning Linux like we're starting Windows from zero. Since we all know Windows already, I'd help to compare it what we're used to. Yeah, you go to the I'm going to share a link. It's called the free Linux course, and there I'm teaching it from the ground up. The course is already there, but these live streams, I'm going to get deeper and deeper into why. I'm going to get deeper into these modules with feedback from the audience, right? So we're doing this together, but if you just want to get started from the ground up, the course is already there waiting for you. Okay, so the last bit, we're almost at the 2 hour mark. So the last bit that I want to talk about is the sovereign craftsman. Okay, so if you go to my blog, which is mishavandenberg.com, you can, I'm going to share the link with this. You can, I write pretty extensively on here, but there's a blog here, Sovereign Craftsman. Called So, wow, yeah, the internet is really. So I wrote a post. So called read do something about it for the next time. Oh, here I have to read this blog before. That will be the last one for the stream. So the Sovereign Craftsman is a philosophy of autonomy, mastery, and intentional living through technology. This is a piece I wrote about this. And we're not going to do the whole thing, but I start like if you resonate with what I've been talking with about so far, then I recommend you save this link and when you're fresh, you sit down and really read through this because I go pretty deep into what I actually mean with this. Okay, so it has philosophical foundations in existentialism, Stoicism, humanism, American. So yeah, you can go into this. I think deeply about this kind of stuff, but I basically believe that there is a hierarchy of sovereignty in the modern Western world. Okay, and this hierarchy is where this is these are certain stage get through where you have an increasing level of technical literacy that is also going to lead to an increasing degree of sovereignty and freedom. So hierarchy here, first level is the wage worker. Okay. Here you're trading time for money. You have no control over your schedule or work, and you're dependent on your employer's decisions. Okay. This is the overwhelming majority of the world is in this category. This is where I was as a nurse. And even if you are in the tech industry and working, I don't know, as an administrator, DevOps engineer, whatever, you can still be here. Like learning Linux alone is not going to get you out of this stage. Okay, so any time where the boss is in charge over your schedule, and oh, can I please take a holiday? Then you are still stuck in the wage worker. Okay. The next stage here is the remote tech worker. And this is where my life completely changed because I was a nurse. I changed my career to DevOps and it completely changed my life. I started making money. And I mean, for the first 2 years, I was still a wage worker. But eventually, when I became more and more senior, I could also have more sovereignty in my work. I could get more freedom and more trust from my employers. So I went fully remote. So when you have tech skills and when you have worked for a few years in a tech job, then you can become a remote tech worker. And this is already a huge degree of freedom. Now you have location freedom, you have a high income, so you don't have to worry about money anymore. And because you have tech skills, you also don't have to worry about your future. Like I am not worried at all. Like software engineers may be a bit worried now, but with the skills that I have on the level where I was 2 years ago, I will always have a job because 90% of the internet uses what I know, which is Linux, Kubernetes, and infrastructure. Okay. There's always going to be demand for people who know that stuff. So I'm not worried at all. And that is a really good feeling, guys. Like, let me know in the chat if you ever worry about your future and money in the future. It's a really nice feeling not having to worry about this at all. So this is already a huge uplift. But if you then are able to go remote, and yeah, this is different for everyone. Like not everyone loves to be remote, but I absolutely love the fact that I am in control of this environment. Like the light is exactly how I like it. The temperature is exactly how I like it. I'm not being disturbed. No one is coming here asking me questions or calling me. I don't have to sit in an open office landscape. I don't have thousands of meetings. I can sit down and focus and do my best work. And I can do that wherever I want. And for months a year, I will go and take my van and drive around. Okay. And all of that I can do because I learned tech skills. And that ultimately started with me learning Linux. Okay. So now we're tying all of this together that Linux, like the stuff that you learn in the free Linux course that I'm teaching you for free in this free Linux course, this is this leads to this level of sovereignty and freedom. Okay, so this is the second level. That sounds like a nice life. Yes, it is a nice life. Going from nurse to yeah, I know somebody went from linguism to tourism to yeah. There's some Buddhism lifestyle inspiration. Yeah, there's definitely Buddhism there too. The live stream will be recorded and the notes there will be in the Linux course. Okay. Okay. So next, the next level of sovereignty is the entrepreneur level. Okay. So this is where you then, because you have the tech skills, you have done the remote work for a while. If you have a DevOps engineer, you know everything about how to run software, where to run it, how to secure it, and how companies run software. And if you have that skill, especially with AI now, you can create anything, you can build anything, and there's really going to be golden times for people who dare to go from level 2 to level 3. If you dare to go your own way, like I did, and make the jump, life is going to be amazing if you have the tech skills. Like there's so much gold to be earned in the next few years. We're really truly entering an AI golden age, in my opinion. So then you have full autonomy, what you work on, with whom and where. So as a remote tech worker, you still have your team you still have a boss, you still have to ask for permission for vacation, but it's already really good. But the next thing, if you're an entrepreneur, then you are fully in control. Okay, and then this is where like 5% of people won't even reach. But if you reach there, like I will always I will never go back to a job if I can help it. Like this is the best way for me. Like it's not for everyone, but for me this is the life. Okay, and from there you can become an AI augmented sovereign. So if you know DevOps skills, you know how to run software. If you then also get into AI, what this is exactly what I'm doing right now, and learning how to operate AI systems, like you can run three businesses at the same time. Like I'm the current business that I'm running, CubeCraft. I'm running that with my and me. Then we have Stefan, who recently joined. He is helping out in the community. Then a few people on the sales team, but then fundamentally we're running this, and then there's Sarham. So fundamentally we are running this business uh, four people, and only two of them are full time. Okay, and that would have never been possible with well, if we didn't have AI systems to help us with things. It helps us with the back end. I have some crazy AI workflows that I use for my own purposes in running the business, and it's insane how much work you can leverage with AI. So, and I was able to just jump into AI and start using and learning these systems because I already had the foundation of Linux, DevOps, Kubernetes, coding, Python. All of that was already there. Okay, and Linux is the foundation of everything. So to go through these levels, there are a few pillars. One of them technical. We talked through sovereignty, but we extensively about that. Career sovereignty, and then next there's content sovereignty. So you get deeper into building an audience yourself. But yeah, this is basically my entire philosophy, and so there's a deeper path to this, and you can join me on this if you want. Like this is the way how I approach life, and how I coach people into good lives. Um, there are these stages going from a wage worker to an AI augmented entrepreneur, but everything starts with Linux. Okay, so there's the blog here, and to go from stage to stage or in the sovereign, you have to start with Linux. That is where everything starts. Okay. All right. So we'll take a couple of questions, and then we are going to wrap it up for today. It's good you bring this up. There's a lot more to it. Linux alone is not enough. There are coaches that are making completely unrealistic promises like web. That's right. Linux alone is not enough, but if you know Linux, you know the majority of what you need to know. Everything starts with Linux. If you want to go through these stages, if you want to go from the wage worker to the remote tech worker to entrepreneur and AI augmented sovereign, start with Linux. That is where you need to start with, and that is why I we need to learn Linux. That's why this is basically the conclusion why I'm doing this. I'm going to spend 2 hours of my week every week helping you guys to learn Linux. And this is my mission. I feel I'm going to do my best to help you as much as possible with this, and that is why I built this free community as well. So the course is already there waiting for you, where that you can just join for free. But in the weekly live streams, which is the schedule for the next at least 8 weeks, I'll be going deeper and deeper into these topics. And then next week we're going to get a little bit more practical. But I thought it would be very important for us to go deeper into why we're actually doing is, why it's important to learn Linux, and we why I am doing this. So let's do a few questions. Uh, will 8 weeks be enough to master Linux? Master, no, but all right, we're back. Yeah, 8 weeks is not enough to master Linux, unfortunately. It like I don't think you will ever master Linux. Like only Linus Torvalds actually masters Linux, I would say. But Linux has so many different components as well. So mastering it takes longer, but you can definitely be productive in 8 weeks. Um, do you have everything I need with your $100 plan? There is no $100 plan. The course is completely free. You can go here. This is it's completely free. Check it out here. Uh, how to find remote jobs for DevOps. What's the roadmap you suggest to become a DevOps engineer? Yeah, so these live streams, these are all about becoming, learning Linux, and we're doing Linux fundamentals here. I'm not going to be answering DevOps questions in these streams, because we want to make it relevant for beginners as much as possible. If you want to learn more about becoming a DevOps engineer, the roadmap for that, all of that, if you want that, then you just go to CubeCraft. That is where I teach people to become DevOps engineers. I'll share the link with you, but we are not going to be doing that with in this stream. So if you want to become a DevOps engineer, this is where you go. Uh, Start with a TTY install of Arch. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good project, but I wouldn't start with that. Start with my course. Uh, try do my 8-hour Linux course first. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for the community for the stream, for your questions. I really enjoyed this. I am glad I could actually expand my mind a bit more and talk about what's important. Next week, we're going to be going more into all of the parts of Linux, what a CLI is, what you're actually doing with Linux, and we're going to get a little bit more practical. We were a bit more theoretical this week, but I think it's important and it will serve its purpose when we post it in the community as well. If you want to get more technical, go to the free Linux course. I'll show the link one more time. It's completely free. Just go here, and there's the full 8-hour course that you can go. Hope this was useful for you guys. Thank you so much for joining, and I'm going to be seeing you next week. Have a good one, guys. Bye.